So I quit my job today.
You did what now?
I quit my job. We got discovered.
Josh.
I was talking to Megan about it last night, and she
Josh,
was
Josh,
like, "Yeah,
Josh.
that's awesome."
We you know that guy only has like 300 subscribers, right? That posted our video.
No, I did not.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to settle for a smaller yacht, I think.
I gotta go make a call.
You go do that. Hi everyone.
Hi, everybody.
That's my line. You shut up. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Into the Deep podcast. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Josh, and I'm Andrew, the Kurt Locker. Thanks
Andrew
for sitting with us.
Taxation. Andrew Taxation is theft. The Kurt Locker. Kurt.
We're just gonna start adding titles here. Uh,
Yeah. I got some podcasts to share with you if you want some funny ones.
don't share them on here because then we're gonna they'll stop listening.
This is true. This is true.
But
Yes, the whole 7 of you, because now there's not just 6.
we're up to about 7 people pretty consistently. And yeah, like we mentioned in the cold open, we've been discovered. The Crash Cannon podcast on YouTube
What?
reposted us.
I need to find this podcast.
It looks pretty interesting for the most part. I think he has a guest on almost every single episode. But he got Father
What do they
Derek
talk
Peter.
about?
Different Catholic related topics. Father Derek Peterman was on it talking about becoming a priest and what that was like for him. Looks like he just kind of gets
we gotta get him on our podcast, and we gotta go on his podcast.
Exactly. I'll reach out. Chris, if you listen to this episode, hit me up.
Yeah.
We're friends on Facebook.
Oh yeah, no, great.
Um,
I'm also friends with several Catholic influencers. Father Mike Schmitz being one of them.
that is such a flex. It's not even funny.
The fact that Father Mike Schmitz accepted my friend request is
That's a pretty big flex.
Anyways, next up, Brendan Herrera.
We'll get into that. But first, let's try to do a quick catch up. How you been?
Good. I just finished a bowl of popcorn. I am working from home today, so taking a little bit of a break. Taking the Lions 16-0 in the 2019 football season, and then I gotta get back to it before other stuff tonight. But yeah, no, things are well. How are you?
Things are good. Fitness challenge is going well. I maintained 172 pounds as of week 3, so can't complain there. And OCI is ramping up. We're starting first real session is Tuesday. We're getting some new equipment for the recording. I'm really excited about this year. I think we're gonna do great things this year, and we already got a lot of people interested.
Big things.
Big things. Bigly. The biggest.
Yeah. The students are back, which is also very exciting.
Very nice.
Yeah. So, but no, things are good. So, yeah. Big news in the media world, though.
Oh.
Did you hear?
I've heard a lot of things.
The AK guy is running for Congress again.
Yeah, buddy. Brendan Herrera,
Dude,
back at it for round 2.
I'm so mad. So, like, for those of you who don't know, I went to Texas this last weekend to visit family. Took Megan's family with me. / they paid for my trip. It was great.
They didn't want to include that on the ketchup, apparently.
No, but we went to Bernie.
Okay.
And I'm so mad that we did. Like I doubt I would have seen them. They're too rich and hoity-toity for me. No, I'm kidding. That's not true. They're very down to earth people. But I was like, man, if I could just drive past Bunker, because we were standing in San Antonio and wave from a distance. But I did wear my Quack Bang Grenade shirt in the airport.
Just in case.
Megan swears that's why we both got patted down.
That'll do it.
I don't think so. Anyways, and but yeah, the AK guy is running for Congress again.
Yeah, have you listened to the most recent unsub episode?
I think so.
It's mostly about his new running.
Yeah.
I got like 10 minutes.
I did yesterday while making some Thai peanut chicken.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
I'm almost finished with the episode. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. Because he lost in that special runoff to Tony by like 400 votes last time.
yeah, it's like
And
less than 0.5%, I think.
yeah, and they were so for those of you who don't know, Brendan Herrera ran for Congress a couple years ago, for Texas State Congress, and he almost
No, he ran. He didn't run for Texas State. He ran for U.S. Congress.
yes, sorry, yes.
He ran in District 23.
Yep.
Against the current seated House of Representative Tony Gonzalez, who was the incumbent in like an 8-person primary for the Republican primary seat,
which was a little. And then because he didn't get a true majority, they did a special runoff election. That's how they do it in Texas, and it was between him and Brandon, and literally 0.5%. There's a couple hundred votes.
Brandon had literally all the guns in the political establishment pointed against him.
Yeah, he was outspent, I think, 12 million to just over $1 million. So like a 12-to-1 change of just being absolutely attacked, with out of context stuff, saying he doesn't support veterans, like all these things that are verifiably false. Whereas when all of his ads were promoting what he talked about or attacking, policy and voting record of Tony. But so the fact that he went through that a couple years ago and decided, yeah, I'm going to do it again is absolutely wild.
Yeah, so we wanted to talk today about just the political life in general, because it's something that's huge. But I think like framing it from this context of like, if you go and you listen to the episode, or you listen to anybody talk about entering the political arena at a large scale, when you're an outsider, you don't fit the conventions. You're kind of like if he would have won back then, and gone in as a loose cannon like he would have, he would have made very few friends in the establishment party, which he didn't want to. He wanted to go in and make things better.
Yeah, and I think that's what scares a lot. Listening to the podcast, him talking about it, he was saying like they prefer, and they being the big parties, so the current Democrats, current Republicans, just like people who are career they established it, the career politicians. They don't necessarily care. This is not true for all of them. I'm broad statements, broad strokes here. They would prefer having someone in there who is going to follow what they want, who's consistent. That's why you have these career politicians, because they may not vote exactly the way their constituents want, but they vote the way that their party wants, and they're consistent. They have job security as far as they're concerned. Whereas that's not what he's about. He's about making changes and making positive impacts.
Well, and like there was an episode of the Unsubscribed podcast where like Brandon had been point blank asked by somebody who had run and then left, had run, one, left, are you going to run again? And Brandon was like, don't know, like thinking about it, maybe. Not going to make any decisions yet.
He's talked about it a lot. People have asked him, and for quite a while, he was saying probably not. That was the worst, 6 to 12 months of his life, because it's just
right.
You're nonstop talking, being in front of people.
But also like the amount of smearing, like because in order for you to run, I'm sure this is true in most. I'm pretty sure this is true in every district. But I know for a fact in Texas, because I live there, in order for you to run for a particular district, you have to live in said district.
Yep.
Or maintain residence.
Work in. There has to be a strong connection in some capacity.
But the problem is that for most career politicians, they don't actually live in the place where they're, they maintain a summer home in the district when Congress is out of session. Brandon even said last night on the podcast, he's like, I want to spend as little time in Washington, D.C. as possible.
I want to spend enough time to do the job effectively, but be back in San Antonio.
Right? And the problem is that with that, what he's going to end up facing is if all the political guns are turned on him again, it's not like it's not like with Trump, or with any kind of presidential election, or even like a Senate election where you're really only 2 seats for the whole state, with a congressional district run, they're smearing you in front of your neighbors, in front of your family, in front of your friends.
He got a bunch of mail delivered to his house of smear campaigns against him because they just blanket send to a district. Like he got a bunch of stuff. He looks like, what is this crap?
Yeah, and so I mean that's kind of the state of the political machine is like.
And I want to
The idea.
preface. I want to preface because I don't think we said it. They're running in the same on the same ticket. They're both like Tony Gonzalez is a Republican. Like he's part of the Republican Party. Yeah, he's Republican. Which is why Brandon's running because he's running as a Republican, but he's not promoting the interests of the party that he is aligned with, so to speak. And what I want to talk about, which I think we'll kind of get into here, is the difficulty of being a Catholic in this political landscape because we're not Democratic or Republican. We're not Democrat or Republican by the nature of if we truly vote with only what the church teaching is.
Yeah. So, funny enough, my coworker, her dad works for the Michigan Catholic Conference of Bishops in their political lobbying arm.
Interesting.
So, every week he's up here in Lansing at the Congressional House, in the courts, meeting with the executive branch of the state of Michigan, lobbying for what the Catholic Church teaches. And he exclusively just tries to sit down with Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that he has been told more times than not is, I don't want to vote as a Catholic.
Interesting.
In the sense of like, if I'm voting for something, it's not because I'm Catholic that I'm voting it. I don't want people to see me voting a particular way because the bishops say I should vote this way. And I think that's such like a weird paradigm. A weird view of it. It's like, I mean, would we say that about anything else? I don't want to vote this way because I don't want to seem as if I'm voting because my family is telling me to vote this way. I don't want to vote this way because I don't want to see that, whatever other core principle that guides my life tells me how to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody walks into the political arena with a set of core principles that have informed them on who they are and that they ran on. And sometimes people vote for you because you are a Catholic. I mean, point blank, Catholicism is, maybe not in the United States, but just worldwide, is the largest Christian denomination in the world.
And I think even within the United States, it's on the rise again.
Yeah. And so sometimes, and like, it is par for the course. I mean, I could go and talk to my grandparents. When it came to who they would vote for in local elections, sometimes it just came down to, oh, are they Catholic?
There's I don't know if it's the USCCB or the Michigan Catholic Conference, but whenever there's elections, they put out a pamphlet of saying like these are the core issues. This is the way that we should vote on these things if we're following our Catholic principles. These are pro-life Catholics who are running in these various elections. Like, and I don't have any problem with saying like, yeah, I look at my vote based on that. When I am able to vote based on Catholic principles, I do.
I mean, that is the number one thing which guides my life. And so it's just weird that like people who are in office don't want to be seen as voting as a Catholic.
Yeah. And I think what it comes down to is when people hear I'm a politician and my religion does blank. For some religions, it could be a great help for them. But when they hear Catholic, like, oh, but separation of church and state, like keep your religion out of my courthouse, is what a lot of people tend to gravitate towards.
When it comes down to it, and not to become biased here, what it comes down to is, well, what are the values that your religion expresses, and how do those values conflict with my values?
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly it's, okay, well, his Jewish values tell him this. How dare I? Or his Islamic values or his Hindu values. But the moment you start to be like, well, Christianity says that all life begins at conception, and that human life is precious and cannot be destroyed in any manner, that denigrates the human person
Mm-hmm.
and reduces them to a value that they don't hold. Well, now suddenly, oh, how dare you? But if I was to say, well, my Buddhist principles tell me that all life is inherently valuable, or my Hindu principles, or my
Oh, that's beautiful sentiment.
yeah. Why is it suddenly that we switch on that? But there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, we're not here to tear down the other religions.
No, no,
But
because there's a lot that we agree on, but
yeah,
right, like I can stand arm in arm with someone who practices Islam and say like, yeah, I want to support strong family values.
what that looks like might be different, but
Yeah,
strong value values. Yeah, absolutely. When
like
um, we were talking about this at book club, and it's interesting hearing from guys who are also Catholic and their views on certain things. Like Hunter being a veteran, we talked about like just war principle, and he's like, I don't understand it to the same degree as you do. I'm not an expert on it either, but we were talking about like whether this was just or not for various wars in history. I don't know. I don't remember how it came up, but when we were talking about that, it was interesting hearing how us as Catholics, we're all guys in the group are Catholic. We still had to like we had disagreements on whether or not certain things were just. But it's good. But at the same time, we're all trying to look at it through the same viewpoint of, does this follow Catholic Church teaching, and why it does or does not. And when we got into that kind of talking like politically, was like how the political machine kind of feeds these things. What would happen if we had a Catholic in office
well, but
during
also
those
like
times?
on that concept of being just, right? This is why like Jesus, I'm trying to remember when we heard this most recently. I think it was on a Sunday, right? Jesus tells the apostles, whatever you bound will be bound, and whatever you loose will be loosed, right?
Mm-hmm.
The apostles and their successors have the authority to bind things authoritatively. And so if they say like, hey, this is unjust, like that is binding. Which I do think is what separates Catholicism from other forms of Christianity, Catholicism from every other religion, is that we have an authoritative interpreting body
Mm-hmm.
that says like, no, you can't hold to this, that this is wrong.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
it comes down to like when popes make unpopular decisions on things. Um, I'd like to. It's a very easy one to throw to is the death penalty. How for a long time it was permitted, and that then very recently in our lifetime it went from basically in very extreme circumstances to it is no longer permitted as a Catholic to support
yeah,
this.
it is inadmissible is
Yeah,
the phrasing.
yeah, and a lot of
Um,
Catholics, like even in my family, struggle with that, like agreeing with that ruling, which I can understand the sentiment. When I was talking with Miriam, I actually taught this in Miriam's class one time, and a bunch of the kids they're like yeah, we're against the death penalty. It's like, oh, that's a surprising take. Death's too easy for them. Like that's not the take we're supposed to have. Um, they were arguing for torturing.
I mean,
Is their
yeah, no, I
interpretation on it?
struggle with that. I struggle with that. Like, I struggle with, okay, right? Like, how do we justify this? Especially like, and I know what the church says, but like, it's still something I have to wrestle with.
Mm-hmm.
But even like the concept of like, I mean, another more poignant one that probably more people are like, okay, death penalty, yeah, I can see where you can make a case. What about birth control? Right? The Catholic Church teaches that birth control is a grave moral evil,
Mm-hmm.
and that to participate in grave, and as the Catholic Church would say, to participate in grave moral evil is a mortal sin. And so now you have to wrestle with the fact that by doing this thing, I am sinning mortally and separating myself from God. And this is actually something that Pope Paul VI addressed in a letter against the wishes of a commission he had set up to study this.
Interesting.
The commission basically gave him a 300-page report saying like, hey, like everybody on this commission agrees like you should change the church's teaching on contraception. And then when he released the document Humana Vitae, it was the exact opposite of what the commission called for. And people were so mad and so irate. But then it's like, okay, pause. Look at the state of the world. It has only gotten worse with things like contraception, with things like same-sex marriage, with things like insert any hotbed political issue.
Legalization of marijuana.
Yeah. I mean, insert any hotbed political issue where it's like, hey, like, right, like, I want to do this. I personally don't see this as bad. I can understand that some people would see this as bad, but I personally don't. And so I'm not going to force my morals on people, or I am going to force my morals on people that they have to agree with this. And it's like, okay, pause. Do you understand, like, there is objective good in the world and truth? Because if you don't, then you just have to say, well, I mean, and this is what happened at a party I was at this weekend. The guy said, yeah, every religion has rules that you have to abide by. You just have to figure out which rules you want to live by. And I go, yeah, but at least one of them has to be true. And not just true for me, but true for everybody. And goes, I mean, I guess. And I'm like, that's such a lame cop-out answer to be like, oh, yeah, I'm not willing to stand on, like, mine is true. Like, here's the thing. If you want to go and say, I think my religion is true, I have more respect for you in that, even if you're wrong, than if you say, oh, every religion has rules. You just have to pick one and follow them.
It's how I feel about agnostics. I think I have more respect for atheists than I do agnostics, because at least atheists are standing on something concrete and like they have a defined opinion, whereas agnostics are like, I don't know, I'm just gonna hedge my bets and say there might be, there might not be, but I don't want to piss off the wrong person. It's like, no, pick something that, like, if there is so much lukewarmness in this world, whether we're talking politically, socially, whatever, morally, there, to harken back to our last episode, we lack strong values. Whether or not I agree with those values, if you have strong values that you believe wholeheartedly in, I have a lot more respect for you. Yeah. But we don't have that anymore.
No. Pope Francis wrote a document before he died, the Lexit Nos. It's on the Sacred Heart. And in the document, he talks about how men have lost their hearts. Like, men meaning the human person.
Yeah.
Right? We've lost our hearts. We've lost what it means to be human and to stand up for what is true, what is good, what is beautiful. And instead, we're just like, oh, well, I can't impose it on people. And one of the things I love about Brandon, throwing his hat in the ring, even knowing that if I do this, I'm going to be smeared all over again. He's like, and maybe we disagree with him on some fundamental truths, but he's willing to stand on business and say, I believe these things are true, and I'm going to run on those principles.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing that people will need to understand about him, the dude doesn't have to run for Congress. He makes a ton of money. Like, his day job is making GunTube content, making content with his friends, and just, like, he gets to live a really, overall, pretty great life, just doing what he loves. Is running for Congress, if he gets it, it's basically a pay cut for him, because he has to stop spending time doing these ventures that make him money, and he has to spend time doing these things, being a public servant.
Oh, he'll have to quit the podcast.
Yeah. Like,
he'd have to quit making the podcast with his best friends.
Mm-hmm.
He'd have to shut down he'd probably have to severely limit his gun business. He would most definitely not be able to make as many YouTube videos.
And with all that, he'll be making a salary. Like, I think public servants should be paid a reasonable salary, but it's gonna be way less than what he would be making if he wasn't doing it. But because he cares about the values that he has, again, I don't necessarily agree with him on everything, but what I do appreciate is he says, these are the values that I stand for. These are the values I think that our country should stand for, and the people that we have in power right now aren't following that. And I can't stand by idly. And I think that's great.
Yeah. Entertain the people for 2 minutes.
Okay. Now that Josh is gone. But no, seriously. Just kind of here while he's gone, I'm gonna kind of peep through his stuff. So he's very straightforward things that he's, pardon my being washed out, that he's running on. Solving the border crisis, cutting taxes, spending regulation, veteran health care, gun rights, protecting life. Okay, I did not know that. Enacting term limits, which I have strong feelings about, in the same line of him. School of choice, protecting homeschooling, opposing endless wars, protecting Social Security and Medicare, and standing with President Trump. That's what he's running on. Very straightforward things that, for the most, I'd have to see the nuance of them, but everything on here is pretty straightforward. He's not beating around the bush with them. They're very let's look at protecting life. Brandon is committing to defending life at every stage. He will oppose all government funding for abortion and on day one sponsor the Infant Born Alive Act to protect the lives of children who survive attempted abortions. That's a very cut and dry, like, what he's standing on. And based on, I don't know him personally. I watch his content on the Unsubscribed podcast and his YouTube channel. It seems like a pretty genuine guy to me. And these are very cut and dry. Like, he's trying to not be very wishy-washy on anything. I was going through some of Brendan Herrera's, like, the issues and his commitments.
Yeah.
I
mean, the big thing is he's very much running like a pro-gun, pro-American, not just America, American first.
Yeah. He's pro-life.
This is not surprising.
It's not surprising, but like I'm going to read it one more time, just for your benefit. Brandon is committing to defending life at every stage. He will oppose all government funding for abortion and on day one sponsor the Infant Born Alive Act to protect the lives of children who survive attempted abortions. Now, does that mean that he is anti-death penalty? I don't know. It doesn't talk about any of his issues, but that's a very cut and dry, like, this is my stance on it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, so he's running on a platform that we probably mostly would agree on, and neither of us are going to, unless we both move to Texas spontaneously for some reason, and specifically to that area of Texas. Neither of us are ever going to vote for him.
No, like, that's not in the cards unless he votes for a national election.
Which, I mean, I don't think he would ever do.
No, zero chance. But the fact that he's running on very clear cut and, like, straightforward values that he has, like, he's not beating around the bush. Like, if you look at other politicians' websites, it's very, opaque, translucent, trying to figure out where exactly they stand. They're trying to play the middle as best they can, or they do the opposite. They have extreme values that I don't necessarily agree with.
Right. And so within that, though, I think there's something to be said once again about this idea of, like, objective truth, objective good.
Mm-hmm.
And what role that has to play in politics. And I was even thinking about that when I walked away. The kind of person you want to run. And I'm going to say some things that might seem contrary to how I voted in this most recent election.
Okay.
So, no spoiler alert, I did vote for the Republican candidate for the presidency. Most of what he was running for, I agreed with. Where I struggled in this most recent election was voting for someone who I did not deem to be a virtuous person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say that Brandon is the most virtuous person either. I'm not going to say I'm the most virtuous person. But I do think, like, virtue being an objective character. You can, and I'm talking with my students. I wrote a blog post about this. You know when someone possesses a particular virtue.
Mm-hmm.
Be it of honesty, be it of justice, be it of, courage, whatever it is. Like, name a virtue. You can tell what a virtuous person looks like.
Because it permeates all of their actions and the way that they act.
And I think there's something to be said about, like, the kind of people that we vote into office should be virtuous. Or at least people striving for virtue. Like, I would make the argument that even if Brandon is not 100% completely virtuous, it's not like he's immoral.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has his shortcomings, we all do. But this idea of, like, he's like, I'm doing this not because I'm trying to gain something. right? I'm doing this because, hey, I don't like the guy who's currently running. I think he's a slime ball.
I disagree with what he stands for, and someone needs to do something about it. And rather than just saying someone needs to do something about it, he is taking action, saying, I'm somebody.
Yeah, I mean, he is the man in the arena, like Teddy Roosevelt. Like, I've said this about people voting in the past. I was like, if you don't vote, you don't have a right to complain.
I agree, 100%.
Um, I'd also be willing to say, if you yourself are not willing to step in the arena to run, like, I don't think you have a right to tell somebody that they're doing the job wrong.
Yeah, you can moan all you want about someone, about this person didn't vote the way I wanted them to for my elected official, blah blah. Well, why didn't you do it?
Why
And
didn't you do it?
I know that not everyone can. Not everyone's in a station in life where they can do it. That's not what we're trying to say. We're trying to say people who have influence, people who have the potential to be able to run, who choose not to, or they even if you're not going to run, if you're going to support, if you want to support a particular candidate, like more than just saying, I'm going to vote for this guy, but doing something about it, supporting their campaign, whether it's through donations or time, something. You got to stand on something.
Well, but also, like, okay, he's been in office for how many years? Why haven't you done anything about it? Like, Tony Gonzalez, I could be wrong here, has been in the political scene for over 10, 15, 20 years, I want to say.
Problem is, every time I look up Tony Gonzalez, I keep getting the tight end.
I thought you were going to say, I thought you were going to say the rat. Speedy Gonzalez.
Let's see. How long is he? So he has been United States Navy, Department of Defense.
How long has he been an elected official?
2020.
Okay, so not that long.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like 2020 was his first official. Yeah, because he was in the United States Navy from 1999 to 2019.
Okay.
But yeah, like the idea for him though is he has been, he's been in office for 5 years.
And I mean, because what, Congress, they have to run every 2 years?
Representative is 2 years, I believe.
Some math is not mathing, but
he's been elected twice. Or no, hold on, let me pull it up again.
Yeah, some math is not mathing.
Yeah, every 2 years. So he ran for 2020, 2022, and 2024.
Okay, so Brandon most recently ran in the 2022 election.
He ran in the 2024 election. He was reelected to third term in 2024. So all the stuff happened earlier.
Right, so he served for 2 terms already and is now on his 3rd term. And Brandon was not happy with what he was doing. I mean, there's a variety of ways you could do it. You can go and, hey, I'm going to go meet with my senator, or I'm going to go meet with my representative, which he did. Brandon exhausted all other available resources. And it still did not end up panning out to being what he had hoped for. So he said, okay, all it takes is for good men to be silent, for corrupt men to rule the world.
Yeah. And something I want to point out, Tony Gonzalez is Catholic, according to his Wikipedia page.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're Catholic doesn't mean you're actually going to vote Catholic.
Well, and I would say that Brandon is probably more so looking at the gun issues.
Yes.
That's his primary issue. But I'd be curious to see what else, Tony has voted on.
Yeah, just reading some of the stuff, the way he's voted, it's very lukewarm, liberal Republican. He only voted on issues that were like, top 2 issues for Republicans, and then everything else he just kind of voted whatever's going to keep him relatively happy. But like a lot of the issues that he voted for that you would think a Republican would vote, in favor of, he voted against.
Right, which we're not over here advocating for the Republican Party or the Democrat Party.
It's advocating for we're kind of showing the stance Brandon's taking, which is you said you were going to vote this way on these issues. This is what you stood on, and you didn't follow through. and you're actively making the lives of me and people around me worse. So I'm going to do something about it.
Right, which I think is the Catholic response when something is being done and you have to do something. I mean, even even in the Republic, Aristotle, he talked about how the person most suited for office is the person who doesn't want it, but accepts the mantle because out of fear that a lesser man might rule.
It going back to the Dark Knight when he's talking about like you know when the enemy was at the gates, the Republic picked one man to be in charge, and he didn't think it was an honor. It was considered an act of public service.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, at what point? And this is where I think, you know, I hate politics as a general rule. I think it's stupid, whether it's local, state, federal, whatever. I think that the way that we do things is stupid. I've seen a lot of people promoting the idea that whatever the salary of your district should be, the salary of your office should be whatever the average salary of your district is.
The median salary, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what makes sense to me. Politicians should not be like someone shouldn't get into politics because they want power. They want to be able to make changes. It should be, I want to better my community.
Yep. I want to better my community. I want someone to vote based on my values and the values of the people around me.
Yeah, and we've gone so far away from that. I don't know if I could pinpoint when that changed, because I'm not that into U.S. history.
I could probably tell you.
Be my guest.
Post Civil War Reconstruction.
Can you elaborate on that? I guess.
Well, I mean, the big thing is like, and this is me being a proud Southerner, and this is not me saying that the Civil War was, and the end of slavery shouldn't have happened. No, the end of slavery should have happened. But suddenly, you flood the South with Northerners who then run for office throughout all of the South. The South was stripped of its political power in Congress. And it was no longer, because the Reconstruction was ipso facto a military occupation of the South.
Which, kind of made sense as far as like.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so but back to the point of like once that became the thing where it's like I can make money in politics, we have turned our republic into effectively, oligarchy doesn't sound like the right term, but it's just the country has become a business.
It's mob rule.
It's mob rule, and it's a business. The country, running the country, become a business.
Hence why the sovereign citizen movement is correct.
We'll be right back. I have to drive to Lansing and beat the snot out of Josh.
You weren't expecting that one.
No, as soon as I opened my mouth, I knew that. I opened the doorway. I wasn't sure if you were going to take it or not.
We'll do an episode on the sovereign citizen movement and what the church thinks on it.
The church says they're crazy. Done. But so kind of again, reiterating the point. When we look at, like, to bring it back to 2000, when we look at people who have been popes, can you point to a single one who is like, yeah, I'm the Pope?
Yes.
Who?
Alexander the Sixth.
I don't know who that is.
Alexander the Sixth was a pope from the time of, he was in the Middle Ages. He had fostered several illegitimate children and then passed them off as his nieces and nephews. Like, had them convinced that they were his nieces and nephews, so as not to scandalize them because he was a cardinal. And then was elected to be the Pope and made his son a bishop, like, within a few days. And then appointed his son to being a cardinal. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a great pope.
No, I mean, there's been terrible popes.
I know there've been terrible, but like when you think of examples of great popes, it's people who don't really want to be popes.
When you think of examples of great presidents, great executives, right, they're usually people who are like, okay, right, I gotta do this, right? Like George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, right? Trying to think of who else. Teddy Roosevelt. You know, I mean,
They didn't crave
I literally
power
think
for the
of,
sake of power. They said, there's an issue that needs to be solved. And I think that I can fix it, but I need the right tools to do it.
one. It's like Teddy Roosevelt never wanted to be president. I recently watched a biography on him, and he actually only became president because he was VP and the president died.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ran again and won because he was such a good like stand-in after the president died, won, and then he tried to run a third
I
term.
must say the raging moose or bull moose, what?
Yeah, the Bull Moose Party,
But
the
yeah,
only effective third-party movement.
suck at libertarians.
Yeah.
In the Green Party. But yeah, like when we look at I like pointing to Washington because when he was when he became president, no one knew what was going to happen with that. He said, "Yeah, I'll do 2 terms, 4 years, whatever." Like it was kind of like a play. But if George Washington today, I want to stick around and be president until I die, he totally could have. 100% could have.
They offered him to be king.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, I'm president." And 2 terms, 4 years, 2 terms. That's what I'll do, and that kind of became like the norm. But he didn't have to.
No, and when time had run out, he left.
Yep.
Another person who I think of is President of the Republic of Texas, Samuel Houston.
Okay.
So Sam Houston was the first and third president of the Republic of Texas. So, per the Republic of Texas's constitution, you could not have consecutive terms.
Interesting.
You had to have you could have up to 2 non-consecutive terms as president. And so he helped to bring Texas into the Union. And afterwards, he was a sitting member of Congress. He ran for election for Congress, became a member of Congress, and actually voted against the secession of Texas. Which probably was to the anger of many of his constituents. But it's this idea of I'm standing on the principles that I know to be true. And to go back to this framework of like, how do we as Catholics interact in the political climate? I think we have to approach it from that lens of like, we have to stand on the principles which we know to be true. There is a God. Sin exists in the world. And that sin has separated us from him. And that if we persist in sin, we will never flourish as a society.
This is one of the most difficult nights that we talk about in OCIA. Mike did it last year, and he did a fantastic job talking about it, Catholic social teaching, but also just like talking about how he started off the night by saying we're gonna combine the 2 things that you're told never to do: politics and religion. But then we talked about why you can't do that, why you can't separate the 2. Separation of church and state is not to protect the state from the church; it's to protect the church from the state.
Danbury Baptist letter from the Danbury Baptist to Thomas Jefferson. That is the only existence of the phrasing separation of church and state in any U.S. document.
Yep.
And nobody wants to acknowledge that it was the Danbury Baptist of Danbury, Connecticut, that were concerned that the state would overreach into churches. And Thomas Jefferson said, no, there is a separation between the church and the state so that the state does not infringe on the rights of the church.
Yep. And we're seeing that barrier's breaking down more and more each day. Look at in Seattle, what was it? Where they're basically saying if the seal of confession, one of the most sacred parts of Catholic tradition, the seal of confession, priests could be jailed if they do not alert the authorities to a crime, or if they refuse to be witnesses of like if they have evidence that a crime was committed, someone could invest it to them.
Yep. Or another COVID. State mandated lockdowns which prevented people from peacefully assembling in houses of worship.
And you could like for that example, you could call it was the guy under the emergency rules. And I will fully admit, I was one of the people who had like as an RA, I had to enforce rules that I didn't necessarily agree with at Franciscan about people couldn't gather and things like that. It was part of my job. I didn't agree with it. I had to do it for as far as keeping my job. But at the end of the day, even then, we still, as a culture at Franciscan, resisted that. We did everything we could to, within the guidelines, still assemble, still do what we could to be the people of God that we were called to be. And we actually, I think a lot of good came out of that at Franciscan, like the walking rosaries every night.
Oh yeah,
like
how, and I think that's one of the things is it's like we as a church also should not be scared of political suffering and political persecution. If we have to go back to the catacombs, we will.
Yeah, the church has survived for 2,000 years for a reason.
But we as a Catholic should not be afraid of the type of persecution we might face for standing up for what is true. And we have to, in order to see the kind of change that is needed in the world, stand up and say, enough's enough. There is truth. There is objective good. And that's not it.
And with that, that's not good. We need to change it, and we need to stand on it.
Yeah. And this will be a constant battle, right? As Catholics, we also can't shirk away from the political life.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just say, well, let's go set up our own structures and our own systems. One of the things that I think we so often missed is that we pray for thy kingdom to come on earth as it is in heaven. And so we have a duty and a responsibility to change earth to be more like heaven. Not just run away, but to change it from the top down. I want to say it was, again, this weekend's readings at Mass, or maybe it was a couple weekends ago. Like, it talked about in the reading, or maybe this was for the Assumption. It talked about how in the reading how Jesus would not come to rule until all powers have been placed underneath him.
I don't think it was. I think it was a couple weeks ago. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
I feel like Jesus is God. Jesus can do it as quickly as a snap of the finger. So why doesn't he? Well, he chooses to use us, bring all things under his rule.
We have been called to be lights of the world. Are we answering that call? And how are we going about it? If the answer is yes, if you truly believe I'm doing God's work on earth, how is that working out for you? Yeah. What are you actually doing?
Yeah. And we have to, change the world for the better. That means calling the Democrats out where they're wrong and calling the Republicans out where they're wrong. Yeah. We have to say, like, hey, to treat the immigrant or the migrant or to treat, the impoverished in a way that does not respect their human dignity is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We also have to say to treat someone who is in the womb or someone who makes more money than you or someone who, insert whatever reason here. We could go back to saying the impoverished and talk about how they treat people who are poor as if they have no agency themselves.
Mm-hmm.
As something less than a human person is wrong.
Yeah. I also realized we were talking about Abraham Lincoln, and in the corner of my screen, you could see gamer Abraham Lincoln.
Wait, I can't see it from here.
Got a PlayStation controller in his hand. But anyway, but yeah, when we look at, and this will kind of inform me on my thoughts on government more so. The more the government gets involved in our day-to-day, the worse it gets. any government, because it's no longer the government's not a person. Government's an entity, and an entity can't treat someone with respect and dignity and love. So the more that the government gets involved in something, typically the worse it gets.
So what I'm hearing is less government, more beer.
Less government, more guns.
Well, this has been fun. I don't know what we're at time-wise.
We're in a pretty good amount of time. Again, we could talk about this till we're blue in the face about specific issues and stuff.
I think we've hit the points.
Yeah, so what we want everyone to kind of get out of this is
vote.
Yeah,
go vote.
Go vote whenever your elections come. Vote with your conscience. Make sure you make sure you have a good informed conscience and
learn about the issues. Go vote. And when there's injustice in the political arena, don't just sit by and say, well, that's someone else's job. Do something.
Yeah, we are called to get involved.
Hence why I am running for governor of Michigan.
Have you? I do want to touch on one thing. Have you heard about I think it's like District 30 or something? Like there's been a district in Michigan that has not had a representative for almost a year because Governor Whitner has not called a special election for it because they died in office or something like that.
Where is it?
It's Saginaw area if I remember correctly. Hold on.
What if we ran for Congress?
District 35.
Near Saginaw?
It is Bay, Midland, and Saginaw. There's been vacant since January.
Okay, so show us on the hand where it is.
Somewhere around here.
Okay. I'm sure I could convince Megan to move out to Saginaw and let me become a rich congressperson.
Apparently, a recent incident in the House involved a Democrat joining Republicans in skipping a vote, causing the chamber to lack a quorum and leading to the cancellation of all scheduled votes. There's basically it's a massive mess right now. But it basically says they have been living without representation. And people are finally starting to step up and like calling Whitmer out, basically saying you need to do this. You are like they cannot be literally taxed and be governed by all these rules without any representation in our government.
Yeah, that's
so if you're in the 35th district, time to. I think it was Franklin or Jefferson who said a little revolution every now and then is healthy for a country.
Oh, it was definitely Franklin. Are you kidding me?
They both were on that.
Him with the French ladies.
That was also Jefferson, though.
I don't think he had so much to do with the French ladies. I think he just liked France.
He did love France. Also, he hated pirates and ran on if you want to get if you need a reason to get involved, Thomas Jefferson ran on the platform of I'm going to end the pirates in the Barbary Coast. That was his.
Don't touch my boats.
Don't touch my boats, and he won on that. So if that's the issue you want to run on, I will support you. The anti-pirate.
What about if I ran on finding the Edmund Fitzgerald?
Pretty sure they found it already.
No.
All right.
Anyways,
let's
this is the Duke and Alton podcast.
Into the Deep podcast.
My name is.
Hold on. As always, we end our podcast. How have you been going deeper lately?
These are great questions. I wasn't prepared for this.
We do it every week. I don't know how you're not prepared for it.
I've had an intense week. I'm trying to remember what I said last time. I mean, mostly I've been meal prepping. I have currently, I think, 25 meals in my freezer. But I think I said that last week.
I don't know. I don't listen to our episodes after we record them.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing actually I've been doing is habit tracking.
Okay.
And so like I'm trying to build up good virtuous habits. And so one of the ways to do that is to track your habits. And to also ask the question of like how would a person who is patient act?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How can I emulate that? So been doing a lot of habit tracking to try to form myself in good habits. But yeah. Stay tuned for a blog post on that coming out in a couple weeks. Like a month.
We
because
could
Andrew's got the next one.
we could also just we could post the blogs more regularly. We don't have to skip.
No.
That's just a minimum.
I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm trying to start a t-shirt company, Andrew.
Fair. I have been going deeper. Mira and I have been really focused on our budget lately and being really conscious of the money that we have, what little it is. But being really intentional of where are we spending our money. Like we're going through. We have a Excel sheet. We are tracking every single purchase that we make down to the penny. Every dollar, every penny. Seeing where's the money going. How can we cut back on some things that we really like? I have some subscriptions that we're running. I was like, I don't use this anymore. Get rid of it. Like just being very intentional with our money so we can start building an actual savings, having money, so that way, you know, in the future, we've developed a good habit of spending, but two, we have money for things like, you know, eventually, hopefully, we'll have children, so we actually have savings for that, so we can go on trips, so we don't have to be penny pinching all the time, but just being really intentional with where our money is going and communicating that to each other as well, which is something that we haven't really done in a long time.
Great. Well, this has been a productive episode.
I agree. In the
and
meantime,
if you too enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And hit that notification bell so you can be notified anytime Andrew posts a new video.
All of those things. I'm going to try to actually get more quickfire catechesis videos out when I can, more than we schedule. So stay tuned for that. And
I also think that we're just going to try to start doing some clips. But
yeah. And please share this with people on Facebook, your Discord servers, wherever. Shout out to Chris at Crash Cannon. Just we're trying to get the word out. We want more people to experience. We think what we have is valuable. We want people to be able to experience it too. If you think this is valuable, let people know about it.
All right.
Hold on, I forgot. Shout out to my mom, Mike, Todd, Hunter. Just so everyone gets their shout outs in, so I didn't miss anyone.
All right.
All right. Peace.
Peace.